Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? Because it's time to put them on. Because the conversation starts now. You show up in the world here on the edge, what you're pouring into people. What are we going to walk away with? How are we going to be better brains? By listening to you is what I want to do. So, Brains, let's welcome her to the edge, Deborah Morehead. Hi.
Hi, April. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and be here with all of you and the brains. I'm so excited.
When they say brains, you just don't know. It just stimulates me. I named my show On the Edge with April Mahoney and my listeners Brains because I wanted to speak right into their cranium. Just the place where they actually live, where they make decisions, where they recall, where they function, where they grow, their creativity. So Brains was just the perfect name.
Yes,
and you let me do something without it being heady or brainy. Oh, I will get a DM. So tell my Brains how you show up in the world.
Yeah, I show up in the world exactly what you with your concept of the brains. I love being able to be with people and help them to engage in their brain so that they can create the relationships that they want, so that they can create the lives that they want. We all know that when we are not really fully in our brain, right, in our full integrated brain, that we often end up doing the things that actually shoot ourselves in the foot, right? We end up saying and doing and behaving in ways that make things worse for us. And there are such simple things that you can know that can make all the difference in your relationship and in the choices by being intentional in your choices. And I love to give that to people. Being a marriage family therapist of 30 years, I have lots of experiences.
So I'm going to ask you about that, but in a minute.
Sure.
But people are in their feelings, and I get it. And I'm really trying a different approach. I'm trying to temper myself. I'm proud to say this. I'm going to be 60 here soon. And I feel like I have a certain gravitas, a certain level of wisdom that I can reach back and pull people forward. So I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to waste time doing that. But I tell you, we were talking in the green room and it's just like watching paint dry. So how do you break through that, on a personal level? Because you said something about relationships. That's a duality. Yes. Okay. Yes. Even if you're doing a relationship with oneself, you can't manage that other influence. Right?
That is correct. Correct.
So you got to create some sort of balance and a baseline and some synergy for yourself without, trying to help everybody and all that. And then change the NLP, the neuro linguistic programming.
Yes.
Oh, God.
I love exactly what you're saying. And I think, it is fun to be 60 and have the wisdom, and it does change, it really does start to shift us, which is wonderful.
I'm loving my gray. I'm loving it all.
Yes.
I know. And it's very striking. Don't you think, to have silver hair, that's very sexy.
Yes.
You better get on board.
That is correct. I no dye here. I love my silver. So
how long have you had silver hair?
I've had it because I'm actually 61. So I have had it for in my 50s, probably about 55, 54.
Wow. Was your mother, she had all silver hair?
My mother and my father, they both have beautiful silver hair. So yes. So that wisdom comes with the silver.
Yeah. My daughter has a thing for redheads.
Oh, yes.
She likes a redhead. But again, like I said, each strand of wisdom, it holds a truth. Yeah. It's like I was telling somebody the story about dreadlocks, how no two dreadlocks are the same because it's a unity, one with God, a locking. and when you cornrow the hair, that used to be roadmaps for the slaves to follow. So there's a history and a culture and that's all in the brain. And so that's why I went to the brain. You went to the brain too as a therapist.
I did.
What does therapy look like in today's environment, with COVID and anxiety? What are you seeing people are struggling just with a commonality? Because we all struggling, but.
Yeah. I mean, we certainly know our world has kind of gone crazy in
Kind of gone. It's just.
Yeah, gone crazy.
I'm tired. I'm tired, Deborah.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, therapy, though there is a lot more anxiety in this world because of so many of the stressors and the differences and the strong different positions. However, to me, therapy has, and I think always in many ways will be the same. And it's exactly what you were talking about, April. It's about our brains. It's about, are we going to use our integrated brain or are we going to use that monkey brain?
I know.
And that really is what it is. And so therapy these days is the same. There are 3 things after doing this for 30 years that I consistently do when I work with people. And the very first thing is I start by helping people to really know themselves. Because self-awareness, if you don't know how you are bringing your past into your present relationships, you're going to keep making the same mistakes and creating the same patterns in relationships. If you don't have that, and you talked about it with the neuro-linguistic programming, the NLP, if you're not aware that you have those neuronal pathways that came out of your childhood and even the epigenetics from your, the culture background, if you're not aware of those things, then you are going to consistently bring in bad actions, bad thinking, stuff that is going to mess you up. So I spend that time on that self-awareness.
All right. And I say this in the most respectful way.
Please do.
They use you as a dumping ground. That's heavy lifting. Okay? Really, because again, you are invested in the well-being of your client. You want to see them succeed. That's what you're giving your life to. But girl, sometimes it can be draining. What do you do for self-care as a therapist to clear your mind, to clear your space, that you have the capacity to continue to facilitate that and then still have a life?
Yeah, that is exactly right. So there's a couple things. First of all, and it kind of fits with what I help them to do because it's what I do too. So the second piece really is about self-control. So one of the things I do is, and I teach them the exact same thing. I teach about the difference between our monkey brain or our hind brain and our integrated brain. And then I talk about all sorts of self-care. So self-care, we have to control ourselves, manage our feelings and our negative thoughts, and that's what I do. And then I make sure that I do a lot of self-care, and I teach them mindful techniques. I use mindful techniques.
Okay, all right, so give me one or two boomerangs, and I'll give you 1 or 2 of mine.
I would love that. Sure. So one of my boomerangs is, and we know it, just doing that, stopping and taking a nice deep belly breath. And you just heard my shift because I actually just did it. Because we can and even I was like, I'm excited and talking about stuff. It's like, no, let me take a breath and let me do a nice shift. And that shifts our brain from our hind brain to a full integrated brain. So that's one of the things I do. I will tell you the other thing I do, which is a mindful technique, and I do it regularly myself, and I teach it as well, is something around, it's called 3 senses, but a mindful technique is about, I'm in the present moment. And so what I will do is I will stop, and you can play with me too. I'll stop and I'll just listen. What 3 things am I hearing right now? And then I'll stop and I'll look. What 3 things am I just seeing in my presence? And then what 3 things am I feeling? The sensation of touch.
Ow.
Right? That gets us in the present moment. It slows us down and it integrates our brain. So learning how to not stay in the reactive monkey brain. I use caveman brain, but I was listening to some of your podcasts that I'm loving, and I know you use monkey brain. So
well,
I'm like,
because the monkey mind is, when I meditate, but I'll tell you sometime, and I will keep it 100 with you. Sometimes the load is heavy and you overthink it.
yes.
I had to pull back on meditation because I was getting these downloads and I was like, whoa, I got enough going on. God could just slow this down.
Yeah.
But I do this is what I do.
Yes, do tell me.
I do brain dumps.
I love it. That is such a great idea.
I do a brain dump, when I have something on my mind, because it takes it out of my mind and puts it on my hand, and I put it on paper and I can look at it or whatever, but I'm decompartmentalizing what I'm doing. I count to 5.
Ooh, I like that.
Very slow and very easy. Take a breath. It feels good, actually.
Nice.
And it's just a lot of mindfulness, and I'm really hoping people do that. Even with relationships, because through COVID, people came up out the ground. You really saw who they were. Okay.
Yes, we did.
With them all the time. You've got substance abuse. You got kids that are not going to school. It's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So what do you do for fun and recreation? How you get your party on, Deborah?
I have to tell you even though, yes, we've lived in this COVID world and some crazy things, but I will tell you some good things, good things came out of it too. I know, I always find God always finds and brings out some good things, even from some of the worst things. So
right.
Yeah. So one of the things that has been most delightful for me, it has always been my favorite thing in the world is connecting, and especially connecting with my family and friends. And one of the things that came out of this whole experience is that I actually, what used to happen, but before COVID, right? My sister would fly down from Washington State here to California, and my dad and my stepmom were in the Palm Springs area, and we would get together for a week or 2 at a time. And one of the favorite things we do is play games. We play card games, we play board games. We grew up doing that. And so during crazy COVID stuff, we actually created a Zoom meeting where every Wednesday and every Saturday we still get to play games. So we came up with this concoction where my dad's phone would be on the link so we could see them, and my stepmom's phone would be rubber band to a lamp over the board, the board that we play. And to this day, we are actually still doing that every Wednesday and Saturday. So
what a beautiful story. That is so unique. See, Brains, you have to be innovative. You got to find ways to have fun.
Yes.
Deborah, if you were a flower in the garden, what flower would you be?
I would be a tulip. Because tulips just come in all different colors and hues, and they just are one of the most beautiful things to just enjoy a tulip field.
But then too, as they bloom, they just go wild. You just gotta, they just go wild. Yes. She got a little wild side, Brains.
Yeah, and that's life. And that's, life and relationships can be that. If we know how to bring it and make sure we are spiraling it all in the positive direction rather than the negative.
But you got to bring other folks along with you, because you get your head together and then somebody's tripped out on the other side. It's difficult. I feel sorry for kids that are in bad parenting situations and they really want to be good. They want to love their parents. However, they got to go, back to chaos. is so traumatic. I just don't know how therapists work through that, or kids
I-
that struggle that, because they're so impressionable.
Yes,
You work
yeah,
with
yeah.
children?
I have worked with children for years. At this point, I mostly work with adults, but for years, I actually worked in the Los Angeles foster care system
Ooh-wee.
for 15 years. And yeah,
God
yeah.
bless you. With that.
Yeah, and the thing that I do it for the adults I work with, but I've done it for the children. Now, the younger children, I just want to make sure they have some good coping mechanisms and some good ways to think about things so they don't believe or get stuck in that negative story if their parents are doing the stuff that they're doing, which is not helpful. It's also, I want people to know that just because you came out of your environment, whatever age you are, that you don't have to believe those negative stories about yourself.
Okay, but wait, wait, wait,
That's
wait,
not
wait,
the
wait. Let me, because it's the vernacular, okay?
okay.
Because belief is only a matter of perception,
And
and
yes.
your perception is your reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just kind of want people to put that, frame that,
Yes.
and reframe your story. I had a conversation, not too heavy though, but it was with my mentor, and we were talking about some financial situations, and I'm going like, dang, here I go again, trying to have to make this decision. And she goes, you're basing your current decision on a past situation.
Mm-hmm.
What you should do is go back and look at what you experienced in that past situation and reframe it moving forward.
Yes.
But it is still an integrated part of who you are. And I hear this all the time, and I'm not, questioning you guys, you're the professionals, but just how do people just, decompartmentalize that and not believe it? It is a part of your story. It's a part of your journey. You have two functions in life. That's to learn and to teach.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, the way that people do that, and I do it with people all the time when I'm working with them, and even with children, and and with the adults I work with. I always say, if the story, the perception, the story we tell ourselves is our perception. And there are certain things that happen in our childhood that lead to that perception.
Right.
And we can, and you use the word, we can reframe the way we think about it so it is more helpful way to think about it rather than staying stuck in it. One of the things I always do when I work with my clients, I do what's called an assessment, but it's basically a picture of, your history and why you are the way you are. And then in that assessment, right, there are core wounds that came out of our childhood. And those core wounds have created what's called the limited beliefs. I'm not important. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable, right? Those kind of beliefs come out of our childhood. And of course, those are limiting beliefs. And my job is to help you.
Deborah, do therapists see therapists?
Oh, I would not go to a therapist that has not been in their own therapy. How's that for an answer? Absolutely. We're human beings too. We come with our history.
We just talked about that. All everybody else's stuff, you dump it on you, and not dumping, you know what I mean. But it's pouring into you, even if it's the air, it's the vibe, it's the touch, it's the conversation, the same conversation or a volatile situation. It's a lot of work. And thank you very much, because mental health is all over the place.
Yes.
All over the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. So absolutely. I did my own therapy. When you're in school, the schools recommend you do your own therapy, but they can't force it or require it. But honestly, I would never, and I have been to my own therapist, obviously, at various times in my life, but I would never go to a therapist that hasn't been to their own therapist.
Okay, so picking a therapist is not like picking a podiatrist. Really, it's the mechanics of everything. What are 3 things that a person should really consider when finding someone that is going to help them, that they feel comfortable relating to? Because everybody's not going to be your client, not with 7 billion people on the planet. And so, not necessarily what you're looking for, because you're looking to help. I get that. But what should I look for when I'm looking for a therapist?
So the first thing that I would suggest someone look for, what you should look for if you're looking for a therapist, is you do want.
Go ahead, girl. Tell me. This, you're on the edge. Go ahead and say it.
I know my mind is like, honestly,
you're picking your words real carefully.
I know I am.
But it's a trained professional. But for me, it would be someone, I read energy. Mm-hmm. I read energy. So when I walk into the room, what am I feeling? What is the energy that's around you, right, that's penetrating you? We just talked about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I look for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that actually was going to be one of the other. So the first I was going to say is somebody that has experience. I mean, we all started as a associate or training, but if you really want good therapy, you want somebody that has experience. But the second thing is exactly what you said, April, is that energy. You want to feel a connection with the person. You want to feel a connection with the person. So when the connection should start with the phone call, when you make the phone call, and you want somebody who answers their phone or calls back within 24 hours, the professional side of it. And then the connection should happen right there. They should be able to say, well, tell me what you're looking for. Let me make sure that I can be of service to you. Mm-hmm. And then the third is when you meet them, you should feel that connection with them. A good therapist, in therapy terms, it's called build rapport, right? But a good therapist connects. When I meet with somebody the very first time, and even some on the phone when I'm with them, I make sure that I'm hearing what they're saying. I'm making sure that I'm giving them some sense of hope. It's like, yeah, we got this. We can do this. These are some of the things that I know I can help you with. And I also just really make that connection of whatever you're going through, I'm here and I got you.
Well, I will self-disclose years ago, through my union in a situation that I had, they sent me to therapy. They recommend I went to therapy. Yeah. And it was a trip because I'm in there and I'm just talking and I'm expecting some Spengali to come in here and just really fix it out. And he's sitting there and he's taking his notes and he's an older Jewish man and I'm a young, hip, black slickster from LA. But I tell you what, at the end of that session, which was 6 weeks, baby, he read me like a cheap novel. Mm-hmm. In the right kind of way. I mean, gave advice and structure. And I didn't think he was engaging in what I was doing. He said, well, you might want to think about this, that, and the other. And it really changed my perspective. It changed my life. So, Brains, you should check in on occasion. Okay? You get your heart check, your liver check, get your brain check. And you can check it right here with Deborah Morehead. Deborah, please tell my Brains how to get in contact with you. Any offerings that you may have?
Yes. So you can get a hold of me at deborahmorehead.com. And I have a free gift that I absolutely want to give them. And it's basically my 3 points. I went through 2 of them today, which is know yourself and control yourself. And the third one you'll find out when you get the free gift. And that is at masteringyourresults.com. And I'll give that information so you can put that up on the.
Absolutely. All right, Brains. So I need you to check in, pace yourself, love on yourself, give yourself a big old hug right now. Come on, Deborah. Big old hug. Give it to yourself real tight. Ooh, yes. Because can't nobody love you like you. Well, maybe me. All right, we're on the edge. I need you to go love, like, and share. Love, like, and share. Raise those numbers. Get the word out. Support us in our efforts. Thank you. All right, baby. Bye-bye.
Bye.